Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well. Lots of interesting things happening. It's actually almost a relief that, to a large extent, the royals are bowing out of public life and leaving it up to others. So that in some ways is good because they get a break while the election campaign goes on, and we have our guys slugging it out, if you can put it that way. But yet again, Harry and Meghan managed to work their way via their cohorts into the frame. So here goes with Keep It Real. Lady C, yes, Aurora, I love you too. Diane Abbott was filmed and pictured with Marlene Headley, also known as Ngozi Fulani, who set up Lady Susan Hussey. Marlene, Shola Moss, and Misan Harriman, all having connections, all stand up for Meghan, all race bait like it's a sport, then seen around Diane, makes me wonder what they are up to. I doubt it will be anything good. As I have said before, I like Diane Abbott. I don't agree with her politics, but I like her. So having said that, what are they all about? What are they up to? Yes, you have spotted the connection. Misan Harriman is a millionaire's son who is somebody who plays the race card, notwithstanding the fact, of course, that his wife is white and therefore his children are brown. He's black, they're brown, she's white. Diane, of course, had that famous affair with Jeremy Corbyn. So she's not above a little bit of, shall we say, well, it's not blonde de blanc. It's just blonde in where it counts. Shola Moss is the progeny of a slaving family and a slaving society. And she is one of the biggest race baiters that God put on this earth. And yes, they all bat for and with Meghan, and they are batting for and with Diane. Now, Diane has a far more valid reason for relying upon her race, as opposed to playing the race card, than Meghan does. Because Meghan passed for white for most of her life. And Meghan went to great lengths to never identify as black. Until, of course, she discovered it suited her. I would like to see that whole lot get away from the race baiting and the, we're such victims, and be more measured and more positive, like Morgan Freeman in the United States of America or Trevor Phillips in Britain. But the fact of the matter is, on both sides of the Atlantic, race baiting is not only a good sport, it's good money. And it's also good publicity. And it's also good image creation for those who want to present themselves as quixotes. There is a connection, you're absolutely right. And on that note, I will go on to what Orion's daughter says. Good morning, Lady C. What promised to be a dull general election has been livened up by Nigel Farage and his decision to stand in Clacton. What do you think his chances are at finally winning a seat? If ever there was a perfect time, I think it's now. It's about time we had some decent right of centre politicians standing up for the people of this country instead of the complacent and lazy bunch we have had up until now. Would love to hear your views on Nigel. Well, I've met Nigel personally. I like him. He's very nice about me. I like a lot of what he stands for. I think he is courageous. I think he didn't really have political ambitions. He forewent business because on a point of principle and started the political party that ended up really being the architect of Brexit. He has thrown his hat in the ring. I actually would have liked to have seen him do things less in response to an appeal from his supporters and had it been a more considered approach in terms of this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do. But he's been torn all along about whether he really wants a political career or not. So that has been an issue. I hope he wins the seat. Will he win the seat? I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, and I'm certainly not going to predict anything as volatile as the coming election. There is, though, a shift in the political dynamic in this country, because we have the United Kingdom Independent Party, headed up by Louis Perry, and we have the Reform Party, which is now headed up by Nigel Farage. And I think doing things upon the beseechment of supporters does not, in my opinion, give as deliberate a message as I would like serious politicians at all times to convey. We do need proper representation in this country, irrespective of people's positions, whether it be right, left, or centre, because I'm afraid that what has gone on for the whole of, well, for much of this century is outrageous. The Iraq War, the messing around with politicians promising the sky and delivering hot air, politicians on all sides of the political divide trying to prevent then damage Brexit, to get Britain back into the European Union. I would like to see politicians of all parts of the spectrum perform with an awareness of their duty to the country and to the positive governance of this country, instead of the tussle that we have, much of which is meaningless except in terms of their political gains. Let us wait and see what happens, because I think there is room in this country at this time for the equivalent of what happened 100 years ago. Because, throughout the 19th century, it was the Liberals and the Tories. Then, at the beginning of the 20th century, the Labour Party, the left, entered the political picture. We are now in a situation where the Conservatives, as they have shown in recent years, are actually pretty much as left of centre as the Labour Party, as the more conservative element of the Labour Party is. They're a soft left political party, as indeed is Keir Starmer's Labour Party. So we rarely have a choice between a black dog and a monkey, as the Jamaicans would put it, which is not much of a choice. I would like to see us have more of a choice, where instead of having the two major political parties and the third approaching major political party are all actually centre and centre-left. I would like to see the representatives of this country's electorate who are right of centre getting some representation. So we would have right of centre, left of centre, and centre. Sorry, let's see what happens. Bright Eyes says, Lady C, along with Anne Widdecombe, would you consider joining Reform UK with Nigel Farage? Our country needs you in big block capitals. Well, I am a liberal conservative, so I'm small l, small c. Would I consider joining the Reform Party with Nigel Farage? I think when you're saying that, are you actually suggesting that I run for office? Because otherwise joining would be meaningless. Doesn't matter what party one joins. And in fact, but I have met and like Ben Habib, who is the deputy of the Reform Party. I know Lois Perry, and I'm most likely going to be interviewing her. Friends of mine are running for the Reform Party and the Conservative Party, and I gather that UKIP is withholding fielding representatives in certain seats so that they don't split the right of centre vote, which I think is all very commendable. I'm not a politician, and I have to tell you, I would not be a popular politician, because I would actually have lots of discussion, and then I would do what I felt was best for the country. I don't think I'd be that popular, because I would say, child, swallow your medicine. If you are ill and you need to take your medicine and you don't want to take it, child, swallow your medicine, is what I would say to grown-ups. I don't think I would go down very well, because I have one or two guidelines for leading my life, one of which is, everybody says I give very good advice. So I give myself advice, and I say to myself, now what would I do with the full knowledge of what I know about this situation? And what advice would I give me if I were not me? And then I make sure I take it. So I am the personal equivalent of Sweden, while all of the other democracies and dictatorships who knew that the best way of handling a pandemic was to handle it the Swedish way, they all ignored their own advice. So let's put it that way. Laurie Manning says, the leaked letter to the Nigerian king is like the leaked letter to daddy. Laurie Manning is referring to a letter that Meghan wrote with her faux calligraphy, because it's not calligraphy. It's swirls and affectations and pretensions everywhere. It is such odious handwriting. I cannot abide it. And it is incorrect. She addresses him as Your Imperial Majesty. And then she signs off, and beneath her name is Meghan the Duchess of Sussex. She's not Meghan the Duchess of Sussex. She is the Duchess of Sussex. And when you are writing a letter, the person from whom the letter comes goes above the coronet or the symbol, whatever it is, in the center of the page. And if there is no coronet or symbol in the center of the page, and it's to the right with the address, etc., it still goes, and it is capitalized from, FROM, all capitalized, a colon, then it should say, it should be from the Duchess of Sussex. That is the very first thing. And calling him Your Imperial Majesty, I'm so authentic. I just believe in cocked fingers taking tea. And I'm as authentic as a $3 bill and a sweet smelling Megsy baby. Just totally authentic. She can't even get writing a letter correct. I mean, I ask you, what is the world coming to when a supposed member of the British royal family doesn't know how to write a letter correctly? Linda Kalbeck says, Hello, Lady C and fur babies from Canada. Woof woof, we sent to say hello too. Have you heard anything from the men of Nigeria about their views of Mimi? We have heard from women, but not men. Thank you for all the work you do putting your wonderful daily talks together. Thank you very much, Linda Calbeck. Yes, after I got this question, because I'd heard a little bit, but I wanted to hear more, so I got back in touch and I found out what the gentlemen of Nigeria think of Meg's baby. I'd got one or two little hints before. Now I don't have hints. I have assertions. One very eminent Nigerian who is of high rank said that he would throw her in the chicken coop. Another evidently said that she dresses like a store, but this store begins with WH. Along those lines, I mean, it's pretty much of a muchness, but along those lines. And a certain Nigerian of great rank said that if she were one of his wives, she would be disciplined to within an inch of her life. She would never be allowed to embarrass him the way she embarrassed herself and her husband. I think it mostly came down to the flesh that she was flashing. Oh! And one of them said, if she was the last woman on earth, he'd take up golf and use the 18 holes instead. Oh, gosh, I tell you, people are too funny. I think that might give away the persuasion of the person involved. Cheryl, Arizona says, Dear Lady C, I do have a question. I suspect you are tired of talking about the Nigerian trip. So my question is this. Do you think Harry has finally figured out that the trip had nothing to do with Invictus and everything to do with the promotion of Meghan? Looking forward to your answer. Well, you know, does Harry have a brain to figure things like this out? Harry, despite the volatility in their relationship, is very supportive of Meghan's egomania because he perceived that as she boosted herself, she would boost him as well. It hasn't quite worked out like that. He has at times expressed the view to people that she is uncontrollable and that it's impossible to get through to her. And on the odd occasions that he's tried, it's ended up in a terrific row with her, then rolling on the floor, weeping and wailing and carrying on like a banshee. And How, after all I've done for you, all I gave up for you, and you don't even appreciate me. One tear left eye. You don't appreciate me at all. And to think I gave up a Hollywood career and being a star. I was a star. And if he would dare say, oh, well, Meghan, come on, you really weren't a star. She's, oh, and now you're trying to denigrate and belittle me. I gather that's what goes on. So, does he suspect that it's all about Meghan? He knows it's all about Meghan. And as long as he feels there's a payoff for him, he is along for the ride. Now, I have seen in my own parents' relationship where the man was so brutally selfish and self-centered in his own right, and that he was having acquired the merchandise as long as he was getting what he wanted out of the deal. Everybody else could run for cover. He was running nowhere. My father, a part of his payoff, was my mother's family's great social eminence, which his family, although his family was far older and technically grander, status doesn't travel to any large extent. No matter how high status you are in one country, once you move out of that country, you may retain a degree of stature, but your status is never. And so that's partly why he stayed, for the fabulous society life that his money gave her and her connections gave him. Harry and Meghan are doing a version of the same thing. I can see it. And I think as long as Harry's getting his payoff, he will justify it to himself. I think it's as cynical as that. And they are both using Invictus. Harry is using Invictus to shore up the remnants of his position, and to convince himself in the dark hours of the night that he is still leading a life of public service. But let's make sure that the dollar bills are all laid out for our delectation. I think it's as cold and as cynical as that. Sorry. Loretta Rankin says, how about her apologizing to the late Diana for stealing her interview with Martin Bashir? She copied word for word Diana's interview with Oprah. Even the dark makeup to look sad like Diana. Put them side by side. No one caught this. Meghan messed up, though she made Harry sit the rest of the interview out because she already had Diana's interview rehearsed and couldn't have Harry interrupt her. Loretta Rankin, you actually make a very interesting point that nobody else has made to any large extent. People have hinted that there are similarities, but the similarities are actually far more pronounced between the Bashir interview and the Oprah interview and the performances and the objectives. Diana's objective was to destroy Charles's right to the throne. Pure spite. That's what she did it out of. Pure spite. Meghan and Harry, mostly Meghan, they also have aimed to damage the royal family with their accusations of racism. And her performance was, insofar as she could get away with it, an amalgamation of the Diana performance dressing somewhat like the Duchess of Windsor, because she really couldn't dress like Diana because she's the wrong colouring, while she was the right colouring for Wallis, because both of them are dark, while Diana was fair. So I think that is it in a nutshell, isn't it? And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. Please keep your questions and comments coming in so I will know what you want us to be addressing. Okay? Thank you. Take good care. God bless. And goodbye. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed. Bye-bye.